Have you ever heard the theory that speaking too many inconvenient truths can lead to a whirlwind of unexplained tragedies? In the world of music and entertainment, rumors of sabotage, hidden agendas, and shocking cover-ups have circulated for decades. One of the most haunting recent examples involves Angie Stone, a legendary figure who not only helped pioneer female hip-hop, but also conquered R&B charts for years. Yet, in the blink of an eye, she passed away under circumstances that some consider suspicious. Was it all a tragic accident, or is there a darker story behind her sudden demise? This account explores the tangled threads of Angie's personal battles, her alleged fight against a music giant, and the growing whispers that her death might not have been so accidental. Angie Stone's journey began in a home filled with music. Her mother sang casually around the house, while her father performed gospel and blues in local joints. Together, they instilled a deep love of melody in Angie's heart. That passion guided her to form The Sequence, a breakthrough all-female rap group signed to the influential Sugar Hill Records. At a time when hip-hop was still carving its path, these women were among the earliest female MCs to lay down a rap track, and Angie was right there at the forefront. Over the years, she carried that pioneering spirit as she evolved from group member to soulful R&B vocalist, eventually releasing acclaimed hits like No More Rain in This Cloud, Wish I Didn't Miss You, and Brother. With multiple chart toppers, Grammy nods, and a reputation for raw, heartfelt performances, Angie solidified her position as one of the greatest to ever grace the genre. Despite that success, the first hints of conflict didn't surface in music tabloids. They lived in the hush of daily financial operations, hidden behind confusing royalty statements, contract clauses, and distribution deals. For Angie, that silence only broke when she discovered a jarring discrepancy while recovering from a serious health crisis. In a lengthy, candid video posted on social media a few months before her untimely passing, she spoke openly about how the Universal Music Group had allegedly siphoned off a staggering amount of her earnings, her publishing, her mechanical royalties, everything she should have been accumulating for decades. She described feeling bewildered and betrayed, particularly after a grueling, decades-long career that left her with far less financial security than her catalog should have provided. As her voice quivered in the recording, she vowed that Universal Music Group would have to answer for these alleged transgressions. But Angie's message contained more than a critique of the corporate machine. She talked about how, during a severe blood infection that landed her in the hospital, she finally had the chance to sit down and comb through her financial history. That's when it all started to unravel, she claimed. Strings upon strings of misappropriated funds, unregistered songs, and unscrupulous maneuvers by unnamed individuals. She confessed to feeling naive about the intricacies of business law, especially in the recording industry. Who can keep track of every royalty payment and mechanical fee, especially when the money is supposed to be handled by a label you trust? Angie admitted she simply assumed Universal Music Group had her back. Yet in her final months, she became absolutely certain that they'd exploited that trust. Her fury and determination only grew more vocal. She warned that she had engaged a tough legal team to sift through the contracts, cross-reference statements, and figure out exactly what she was owed. In her direct words, after decades of sweat and tears, she was done waiting. She demanded her coins, the fruit of her labor that had formed a musical legacy stretching back to the early 1980s. Equally significant was her cautionary message to younger artists. She begged them to read the fine print, consult lawyers, and avoid blindly trusting any label or executive who claims to have their best interests at heart. She painted it as a system that might treat you like family on the surface, only to siphon away your wealth behind closed doors. Much like the tragic stories of countless artists before her, Angie Stone felt she had been burned by a well-oiled machine that always manages to protect itself. Then came her trip from Alabama to Atlanta, a drive that on the surface sounded like a routine travel day. After all, Angie had spent decades zigzagging across the country for performances, studio sessions, and family visits. Yet on that fateful day, her van reportedly flipped and then was struck by a large truck, claiming Angie's life while leaving the other passengers alive. The more details that emerged, the more people on social media began to question whether it was pure chance. Was it simply a devastating accident, or did it have some deeper cause? Internet theories spread like wildfire, particularly among fans, who recalled Angie's fiery accusations against Universal Music Group. Many found it almost too coincidental, At the exact moment she was threatening to sue for misappropriated royalties, she was suddenly gone. Conspiracy theories aren't new in the entertainment world. Throughout history, whenever a beloved artist meets a tragic end after publicly taking a stand, suspicions naturally arise. It happened with Sam Cooke in the 1960s, Tupac Shakur in the 1990s, and numerous others whose passings still spark heated debates. Angie Stone's story has only amplified that pattern, especially when you consider she was the single casualty in a multi-person accident. Some folks have labeled the notion of a planned sabotage as paranoid or sensational. Others say the pattern is far too consistent to ignore. Angie's long-standing struggle with the business side of music, her bold vow to recoup her stolen earnings, and her final week spent speaking openly about how she had receipts, might be enough to raise eyebrows among even the staunchest skeptics. Angie's tragic end is only one piece of the puzzle. In fact, the controversies swirling around her go back long before her vocal accusations against Universal Music Group. During her final year, she also made startling confessions about sabotage from within the industry itself. Chief among these revelations was the surprising claim that her ex, the famed neo-soul star D'Angelo, was used, whether knowingly or unknowingly, by certain handlers to undermine Angie's career. Their relationship had once been a curious media fascination, partly because of their powerful musical synergy, and partly because of the tabloid rumor mill. Although they split many years ago, Angie described uncovering evidence that business associates in D'Angelo's circle had circulated letters accusing her of exposing him to alcohol and other substances. Essentially, the letters painted Angie as a negative influence, pinning her for D'Angelo's struggles. In Angie's words, these letters were sent to industry professionals behind her back, encouraging them to believe that she was unpredictable and difficult to work with. That blacklisting effect, Angie suggested, might have stunted her career at crucial junctures. She recalled feeling utterly blindsided because, at the time, she had no idea such a smear campaign was even unfolding. D'Angelo himself, she insisted, may have been unaware of what was happening. The strategy, by her estimation, was orchestrated by powerful managers or label executives whose motives she could only guess. Perhaps it was about clearing the path for D'Angelo's own brand, or maybe it was about shutting down Angie, who tended to speak her mind. Regardless, she felt that this manipulation was a microcosm of what the industry frequently does: pit artists against each other while hidden hands pull the strings for profit. But that was not the only betrayal Angie spoke about. She also called out Mary J. Blige, or more specifically the individuals around Mary, for playing a role in undermining her. Angie recounted how she was initially asked to help mentor Mary, presumably because Mary's raw talent reminded management of Angie's soulful roots and authenticity. Angie claimed to have poured energy into guiding Mary, offering her expertise and emotional support. Then, out of nowhere, one of Angie's personal tracks from a session with D'Angelo, "Every Day and Die," as Angie recounted, allegedly appeared on Mary J. Blige's project, seemingly without Angie's permission or acknowledgement. Angie didn't accuse Mary directly of plotting or stealing. Instead, she hinted that the structures around Mary, possibly her managers or label, had misused Angie's creativity to give Mary a stepping stone to success. To Angie, this was part of a bigger pattern, a system that plucks resources from unsuspecting artists and reassigns them to whoever the industry decides should shine at that moment. These revelations added layers to the story of an artist who had given so much to music, yet found herself consistently shortchanged, financially, creatively, and even in how the public perceived her. The words sabotage and conspiracy almost felt too mild to describe what Angie believed had been happening for decades. According to her, this was a highly coordinated effort to keep her from ascending to the highest echelons of stardom. Whether by burying her rightful royalties, blaming her for a partner's personal issues, or leaking her music to bigger names, the outcome was the same. Angie Stone, a woman of tremendous talent and historical importance, was perpetually robbed of her rightful place in the industry hierarchy. Shortly before her passing, she went even further. In a conversation that Albie Shore later posted publicly, Angie mentioned ongoing issues with potential discrimination in medical care. She claimed that, despite having 2 possible kidney donors lined up, she couldn't seem to get a transplant approved. In those text exchanges, she hinted that hospitals might be targeting older Black donors for more intense scrutiny, or simply stalling them for reasons unknown. Angie expressed exhaustion at the medical runaround, frustration at fighting bureaucracy, and fear that, if she didn't act swiftly, her life would be in danger. Yet her messages held a fierce tone. She was determined to keep pushing until she got the care she needed. She also had words about Albizure's own struggles, referencing controversies involving industry powerhouses like Diddy, who Angie believed was finally being exposed for years of questionable actions. Angie prayed for Albizure's well-being and urged him to reconnect with his son, Quincy. Some people wondered why Albizure chose to share those private texts. Did he want to demonstrate the depth of Angie's hardships? Was he drawing a line between Angie's final days and the broader pattern of exploitation in the music industry? Others saw it as a tasteless attempt to gain public sympathy or attention. No matter his motives, the texts only fueled the online speculation that Angie had been fighting battles on multiple fronts: health challenges, corporate corruption, and personal betrayals from those she once considered friends. After the accident that claimed Angie's life, fans and theorists pored over the details. The official police report stated that a 2021 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van flipped on the highway in the early morning hours, then was struck by a Freightliner Cascadia truck. The driver and other passengers were rushed to a medical center, while Angie was pronounced dead at the scene. The press release mentioned no wrongdoing on the part of the truck driver. It read like a straightforward tragedy, which, on the surface, might quell any speculation. Yet the timing was too suspicious for some onlookers, especially because Angie had been so publicly combative just prior to her death. In their eyes, the outcry she launched against Universal Music Group was the pinnacle of her defiance. She was demanding significant payouts, implicating powerful individuals, and refusing to stay quiet. That, they say, put a target on her back. In an industry with as much money and influence as mainstream music, it isn't entirely far-fetched for fans to suspect foul play, especially when an artist stands up to a major record label. After all, Universal Music Group is enormous, home to countless top-tier stars, boasting near-limitless resources. Conspiracies about hush money, arranged accidents, or coerced silence have haunted the entertainment sphere for decades. From claims that certain artists were unalived to keep secrets under wraps, to rumors that executives sabotage rebellious talent, the stories persist. Are they always accurate? Perhaps not.